design signs for your party. Thank you so much for participating, and it's been a long day of videoing all day. We've been doing some videos for our subscription box group today and working on our next month's subscription box. So I'm doing this late in the afternoon, and I've already painted my sign, and this is just a small one to show you guys just your sample. So you've got your board, you've got your vinyl, you've got your yellow sponge, and then you've got your white sponges, and then your paint. So you are going to use your yellow sponge to paint your sign. I always go with the grain of the wood. So your sign's vertical, just go with the grain. If you would like to make your wood grain show through your sign a little bit more, like how this is, I recommend getting like a little cup of water. You can dab your sponge into your paint, put a little in the water, just a small amount, and make it more into like a stain. We never really used stain at the shop. We always used paint, just because I think stain is messy. Oh, and also if you have other colors at home, if you have acrylic paints, this is all latex paint. It does come off your fingers. It does not come off your clothes unless you get it immediately, but it comes off your fingers really easily. But if you have acrylic paints at home, you're more than welcome to add those in. Those will work just fine with this. So I went ahead, like I said, and already painted the background of this little white sign. I used my sponge, barely used any paint. It was a little wet from earlier when we used it, so it did just show the grain a little bit, as you can kind of see how I have that there, okay? So you have your vinyl like this and the white graphed background. We use these squeegees here, but you can use like a gift card or rewards card if you have one, and you're basically just, I'm gonna move the camera down so you can see. So you're basically just taking the squeegee and just pushing it to try to get some of the bubbles out. They all should be good, but they've been on there, you know, for a couple days now, so it wouldn't hurt to just take your squeegee. You're not gonna hurt anything, and just push those bubbles out, because you have a clear transfer tape over the top of your blue. Okay, so once your sign is completely dry, you're gonna wanna do your sides too. Very small amount of paint. The less paint you use, the better it is. That's why we switched to sponges instead of brushes. Sponges, people get tend to get paint happy, which is normal. I mean, you're using a brush. It's not like painting a wall. So with this sponge, it goes on really fine. So if you don't like the wood grain to show, you can just add a little bit more paint if you want more of a solid look. But it's still gonna keep it super smooth, and that's what you want, because you don't want the vinyl sticking on top of this and having like ridges from the paint once it dries. So once your sign's 100% completely dry, you're gonna go onto your vinyl. You're gonna squeegee it, like I said, and yours are a little bit bigger than mine. So I always start at the left top hand corner, and you're gonna pull your vinyl back like this. You do not want any blue to come up. See how that's kind of, sorry, see if I can make it not come, okay. So let's just say that it's stuck and it's not coming up. I just make a crease and I kind of push and pull at the same time. So push down on the vinyl and pull. You don't want any blue coming up. The more words you have, the more complicated it can be. Be careful for any like just squiggly lines or anything like that. So you're gonna pull all of this off. So nothing is left on the white paper. You're gonna keep this to the side of you, graph side up. Just set it down. Don't let this hit the blue side. Don't let anything really hit this blue side, because it will stick to it and it won't come off. And you're gonna carefully lay your vinyl onto your wood piece. And then you're just gonna press down with your fingers. You're basically just trying to get where the words are to stick to the sign really well. You can rub it all over, but basically you're just trying to get this area here. And then once that's stuck to the wood, you may have to push down a corner once you're done, and you're gonna just pull off this transfer tape without any of the blue coming up. I am doing this a little fast, and I've done it, I don't know how many times. So just kind of take your time with that. So now you have your vinyl on your board. So this piece here is important to stay to the side of you. You're gonna use your sponge And I try to keep these as neat as possible. You can always cut the tops off if you need more sponge. If you want to cut them in half, if you're trying to do like fill in little spaces, you can always cut them in half to get smaller ones. But I'm gonna go ahead and start with the black color that I have. So you take your sponge, you dip it in your paint. This is way too much paint. So I'm going to wipe it off on the side of the cup, and then I'm going to take the graph paper that I have and I'm going to dab some off there, and then I'm going to go to my board. Let me just do these first couple letters and then I'll kind of show you. So see how there's like almost no paint on there? That's perfect. That's what you want. If you put too much paint on the board and it's wet, it can it can go under the vinyl and it can cause bleed marks. So less is best with this paint. So I'm gonna go ahead and, like I said, I am doing this a little faster. That's why I wanted to do a smaller sign so I could finish it during the video. So I'm gonna go ahead and just finish up the black here. Try not to get around the edges either. There's not a huge space around the edge, but you still want to be careful. I mean, unless you want to paint it. Most teens and kids like to paint the edges. It looks like a frame, but that's about it. Okay, so I'm going to do the little hello part in black too. And obviously this watermelon can be a little difficult because it's so small. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to cut my sponge, and I'm gonna just take the end of it really lightly, and I'm going to paint the edge of it green. So like I said, less is best. The less paint you use, the better your sign will turn out at the end. If you put too much on there, it just kind of makes a mess on it. Okay, so I've got the green on. And I didn't use a ton of paint, and that's okay. I like it to be a little bit worn looking. Sometimes I feel like it looks a little distressed. I'm gonna cut my sponge again, and then I'm gonna use the pink that I chose. I could have used red. I could have used a couple colors. So I'm just gonna fill that in. My kids are cleaning up dinner. If you can hear the dishwasher, they're awfully loud out there. Okay, I'm gonna go back over the black a little bit. I got just a little pink on the edge, so I'm just gonna fill that in carefully. And that's it. Now I've got my sign painted. Now we have these metal pickers. It's just got a sharp metal tip on it. You could use a toothpick. You can use your fingers. I usually use my fingers even. Straight pin, safety pin, anything like that. And you're gonna wanna just pull up on the corner, and then you're going to peel. Now, when your sign is totally finished, you have it painted the way that you want it, I would wait just maybe a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes, and then pull. You do not want the paint to dry while it's on the stencil like this. It can create like a layer and the whole thing can peel up. No blow dryers, nothing. You just want to, you know, just so that it's not like soppy wet around the edges. And that you don't touch your fingers and then touch the board. So like I said, that's why I also do light layers, so that I can peel it and that it's gonna be clean. I don't have like a ton of paint around my edges, like wet paint. So once you get to this point, like wait a minute or two until it's, you know, just not super wet that you just did your last coat. And then you're just gonna carefully peel it. I like to peel against the grain of the wood. So however you have the wood in front of you, go against it. I'm not doing that right now though, because actually just peeled off all in one. So now I've peeled my stencil off. I just have those little pieces that I have to dig out. Just kind of grab the edge of it if you can. Don't try to stick like anything sharp into the wood, obviously, because you'll make like a hole. So if you have anything sharp or like I said, a toothpick or something, you're just gonna kind of want to push the vinyl and then peel out those little pieces. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just try to get these little seeds out. These are awfully small. Also, with the paint being so dry, this is a lot easier. If you try to do this when the paint is like super wet, you're gonna get it on your fingers. You can touch your sign again. This little seed was close to the other one and didn't realize that. And that's it. Obviously, I know it's flipped, but it says Hello Summer. We sold these as little kits last year. We had this one, then we had one that had little popsicles that said summer across it. So that is my sign. I'm all finished. So let's just say that you bled around the edges of your words or there was a little mishap. I always take, if you got it on the edges, if you happen to have sandpaper, I would sand it off first. Sometimes when you try to go over it, like if I had, say, a black piece right here or black spot of paint and I tried to go over it with a white paint, it won't cover it. So I would probably sand that off. Usually if you sand it, it looks just fine. Sometimes you may have to go in and add a little bit more paint. But if you have something, again, sharp like this, toothpick, works great. So like say I have a little mess up around this and I want to cover it up with white, I would just stick my little toothpick into the white paint like that and then just kind of like fill in the edges. I don't really have anything to touch up. I guess I could do a little around the watermelon, see how it kind of like didn't fill in a little right there. I could just take this in, fill that little hole in. But again, you don't want a lot of paint. Hold it out in front of you, set it out far. If you think that you made a mistake, try not to critique it too much. It is wood. There are marks in it. I try to sand them as smooth as possible, but there's still knots. There's still little, notches in the wood, and that's what makes it unique. So it's totally your sign. So that is it. Once like this dries usually really fast. Again, if you use less paint, it dries fast. I'd love to see pictures whenever you're finished, and I hope that you guys have a great night creating your signs. So thanks so much for shopping with us and supporting our small business. Our website is www.pinchofsaltstl.com. We are on Facebook and Instagram. We did close our shop last year, but we do sell kits online. So we have lots of tiered tray kits. We do a subscription box every month. That's always a surprise kit, DIY kit that you get delivered to your door, or we have pickup in Arnold. So if you guys have any other questions, you can always email me or message me on Facebook. That's usually the fastest way to get a hold of me. So thanks so much and have a good night.